I've been waiting to drive the Mazda 6 since it was launched, and that's back in 2013. And we're in 2021, so it's 8 years ago, nearly 9 years ago now. But I'm happy that I'm finally getting to drive this car, just as it is about to be taken out of production and replaced with something much more interesting and enticing, but I'll get to that further on in the video. So Mazda has kept the current 6 in production for nearly a decade, and it will probably still make it next year in 2022, because it is a smaller manufacturer that doesn't have quite the resources of some of the bigger names like Volkswagen, as they can afford to launch a new model every 6 years or so, 5-6 years, while smaller manufacturers with fewer resources like Mazda tend to update their existing models more, or at least their lower priority models, because Mazda has replaced the 3 that it launched roughly at the same time as this 6 with an all-new 3 that is much more modern and better than the car it replaces. So this big sedan, the biggest sedan that Mazda makes, has a lower priority because people are just not buying sedans the way they used to. I like this car's 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. It makes 194 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 258 Newton meters at 4,000 RPM. And it enables this vehicle to sprint to 100 kilometers per hour in just 8.1 seconds. Top speed is 223 kilometers per hour, and my tester today has the only transmission available for this largest engine, a 6-speed automatic. Last year, or in 2019, I can't remember exactly when it was, Mazda dropped all versions of its 2.2 liter diesel engine, which were quite good. That was a diesel engine that freely revved over 5,000 RPM. It was very, very muscular, and it was one of the pokier 4-cylinder diesels on the market. And it also made the car very, very efficient as well. So now that there are no more diesels in the range, all you're left with are two 2-liter units. One makes 150 horsepower and the other 163. And this top-of-the-range 2.5 liter 194 horsepower engine. All engines get cylinder deactivation, and even this big one isn't the thirstiest thing in the world. Mazda claims it should return around 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers. But over the few days that I've had with the Mazda 6, I've been averaging 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers. And that's in mixed driving conditions, in and out of town. From behind the wheel, the Mazda 6 feels like quite a plush and luxurious car. I was actually expecting it to feel sporty too, but as I am noticing now driving it around these twists and turns, the steering feels hardly connected to the wheels. The smaller Mazda 3 is a world away compared to this when it comes to feedback. Well, not feedback per se, but the kind of confidence that it inspires through its steering. This is kind of vague and disconnected. There's also a bit of body roll, although it's nothing horrifying. But my biggest disappointment with this car is that I wished it to be more fun around the corner, to be honest. And it frankly just isn't. Like, yeah, I'm throwing it into this corner, but I'm not really enjoying it because I can't really tell what the front wheels are doing. It's not bad, but honestly, cars like a Passat, for instance, will feel sportier than this. And be sportier, because those get a lot more tech that helps them become sportier. Like a much snappier double clutch gearbox, adaptive dampers, and more interesting engine options. But anyway, I digress. Another area where many have criticized the Mazda 6 is ride comfort. But they say that they recently updated the vehicle again and they changed its dampers, and it's supposed to be better than before. But not having driven this car before, any version of it, I really can't tell What I can tell you is the ride still feels a bit busier than it should for a vehicle that is this softly sprung. That might have something to do with the 19-inch wheels fitted to this test car. And frankly, I would advise against them. Just get the smaller wheels. Yes, these black wheels certainly look really good, but the trade-off in comfort I don't think is worth it. This car also has a sport mode, but it only affects gearbox and engine mapping. Let's see how quick this is. I might put it in manual mode, even though the car does shift up for you when you reach the red line or when it thinks you should be shifting up. It's certainly brisk. Those are frankly pretty much all the bad things I had to say about this vehicle, because even though it doesn't quite live up to my expectations, it's not bad by any means. For instance, the driving position is great. It's super comfortable. The seats are very good. You get a lot of kit. And this is a mid-spec Homura model, which costs just over 35,000 euros. But for that you get, well, dual zone climate control, a heated steering wheel, decent infotainment, heated and cooled front seats and heated rear seats, electric front seats with memory function for the driver. You get an almost 4.8 meter long car that has ample room inside, although taller passengers might touch the roof in the rear. I do when I sit behind myself, although I have plenty of knee and leg and shoulder room. It's pretty good. Oh, and in case you don't find them, the buttons for the heated rear seats are hidden in the armrest, along with some USB charging for your devices. I also think the interior looks fantastic, and it feels fantastic too. I really like that Mazda went to the trouble to make most surfaces you touch really rather pleasant. Like, for instance, here it's super soft. I'm not sure how well you can see just how soft it is. Here it's also very soft. The top of the dash is a different kind of soft. This feels more like a traditional rubberized material that they use for dashboards in higher quality cars. Whereas this just feels like leather that covers some memory foam. I'm sure it's not that expensive to make this like this, but it feels pretty nice. The armrest is also very squishy. The leather on the seats is also very good. And since this has cooled seats, it needs the perforated leather. The steering wheel is quite unusual because it is much thinner than in most new cars. I noticed in the Mazda MX-5, which is the most recent Mazda that I drove, that it had a really thin wheel. This isn't quite as thin as that, but it's pretty thin. I will point out though that even though you have a heated steering wheel, only this part heats up. The dials are part digital, so you can change what you see in the middle. This is my fuel consumption for the last 2 days, 9.7. My tester doesn't have navigation. It just shows you a compass, latitude, longitude, and altitude. Okay, so let's see exactly how well I fit in the back. Let's see. That's very good. Doesn't feel claustrophobic in here at all. In fact, this is one of the themes of this vehicle, I think, the very good visibility, even through the rear glass from the driver's seat. So I can very easily slide my feet underneath the front seat. My knees don't touch the seat in front. Although if I do sit up straight and proper, I just about hit the roof, as you can see. But I don't actually touch it. And if I extend this headrest all the way up, This is actually very, very comfortable back seat. And big. It's not quite Skoda Superb in terms of rear leg room and room generally speaking, but it's fine. This is the button for the heated seats. The center seat is obviously not heated. And if you want USBs in the rear, this is where they're hidden. No rear climate controls though, just some handy pockets, window controls, which are not one touch apparently. Oh yeah, and let's check out the trunk. It's around 480 liters, so kind of a bit smaller than some other cars in its class. As you can see, it's quite deep. There's mostly nothing under here, just a tire repair kit and a tow hook. You can fold down the rear seats, although not electrically. You have to do it through here. And you have to put the headrest down. This car's sport mode does change the way the throttle responds to presses and how eager the gearbox is to shift down when you floor it. And it also holds on to gears for longer. That's what sport modes do. There's nothing fancy about it. It is pretty quick, I will give it that. No torque steer. Yeah, I'm sure that rivals' turbocharged and smaller displacement engines do feel muscular when their turbos kick in. But this responds much more instantly to any prod of the pedal. So now I'm in third at around 2500 RPM. And if I floor it, it immediately picks up. The wonders of naturally aspirated engines with large-ish displacement. Slot into second. This car looks good enough for you to just buy it based on that, even though it's much more substantial than that. It's more than just a pretty face, even if it's not perfect. It looks the way it does today after Mazda's 2018 facelift. It might be 2019, I can't really remember, but I think it's 2018. That's when the automaker also heavily revised the interior to bring it to this design, which again, very understated, very classy, very well built. Materials are very good. It's mostly well thought out. And the exterior reflects the same kind of attention to design, let's call it. The car obviously gets full LED headlights, but you would expect that. I think they are optional. I'll have to check. This vehicle has aged remarkably well. I mean, yeah, the facelift does make it look better, but it still can't hide the fact that it was conceived probably over a decade ago. So who would buy this vehicle? Who is it for? Well, contrary to what you might think of the Mazda brand, and that it makes nice to look at, nice to drive vehicles, this is still nice to drive, but don't expect it to be sporty. It is a relaxing place to be rather than an enthralling one. This is the kind of car you would cover continents in. It's that comfortable, at least at higher speeds, because at lower speeds, like I said, the ride is But at higher speeds, I was driving it on the highway coming to this place where I'm shooting now, and it was perfectly fine at the speed limit, which in Romania is 130. So you need to get it up to speed to make it comfortable. This vehicle also feels quite premium inside. All the places you touch are nice. The design is also very premium, I think, because it's minimalist and unfussy, which is what Mercedes, for instance, does or used to do until it all went to hell with its latest cars with the screens and the weird seat controls and all of that. But it's a sensible car for sensible people who appreciate unfussy, simple, Japanese-made things that look good. They do what they say on the tin, but it is not class-leading in any way other than, I guess, design, the way it looks. And there are certain areas where it does feel left behind. And I know I'm talking about bad things again, but I'm not knocking on this car. I do like it, but I have to point out that it's showing its age. So for instance, you can enable the cameras for the rear. Oh, now it's the front view. For the front view and the surround view system, which is nice. It's great that it has those features. But they look like a video game from the 90s that's all sped up. It's really weird. And the surround view system has, you can see where the feed from the various cameras ends, and there are black lines. And it's not clear if there's anything there or not. And the cruise control, the adaptive cruise control, won't keep you in your lane. It does have a lane keep assist and lane departure warning system, but that will just nudge you back in your lane. Another set of buyers that might like the Mazda 6 are those old school buyers who don't like technology. If you don't like technology that much, I'm not saying that Mazda 6 is devoid of technology because it has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, although I did have some trouble connecting my Apple CarPlay in that I couldn't connect it, it wouldn't connect, but it does have it, and I'm sure I was doing something wrong. But the tech isn't obvious, like you get traditional car buttons and switches. Even the selector for the automatic transmission is about as classic as it gets. You pull it back to put it into drive, pull it towards you to put it in manual mode. The buttons on the steering wheel are very easy to understand. Mazda doesn't want to alienate people who have had older cars and maybe older Mazdas. It's trying to keep them in the family, let's say. And those people who are not into tech will really enjoy just how hidden it is in this vehicle. I mean, for instance, the digital display that replaces the analog speedo. It is so cleverly hidden there that many people might not even notice that as a screen until they press the info button on the steering wheel and stuff starts changing around. You can't set it to other designs. The only design on offer is the one that imitates the actual analog dials to the right and to the left of it. This car also doesn't require you to use the touchscreen. You can use this very traditional rotary control here that's stolen from BMW, but it's a familiar sight, and not just in this Mazda, in other vehicles as well. BMW has since moved on from this system, but hey, it's good design. Good design doesn't die. It just gets reused. It's a great car, but it's not class-leading, and it won't impress the more tech-savvy car buyers among us. But the news is pretty good. Mazda is supposed to launch an all-new 6 next year, allegedly. And that car will be based on a rear-wheel drive platform, a new in-house developed rear-wheel drive platform that Mazda will use to underpin many other vehicles in its range. I think the larger vehicles in its range will have that platform. In fact, photos have already leaked online of the first Mazda that uses that platform, and you can clearly see it has a longitudinal engine. I think the SUV they spotted is called the CX-50, and it looks a lot like the first generation BMW X1 in terms of its proportion. So I have very, very high expectations, and this makes me very excited because I really, really like the Mazda brand. I appreciate its heritage, I appreciate the way it builds the car, I appreciate the fact that the manufacturer, with fewer resources than most other manufacturers, is still doing things its way, and it is independent, and I'm happy they're still in business, basically. I hope they will continue to make cars because Mazda's is a very unique contribution to the automotive world, just like their compatriots from Honda, whom I also appreciate. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe and help me get to 1,000 subscribers because it's taking forever. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.